All right. Good morning. Good Sunday morning. I hope you are well. Allie will join us in a moment or two. And in that time, when it's just you and me together, I want to remind you your experience is valid. You are an amazing human being, and I'm glad to spend this moment here with you. And here is my buddy. Today, we are going to talk about all sorts of fun things, about bringing meaning into experience. And, well, I'm just going to wait till my buddy hops on here too. It's actually sunny here, which is absolutely amazing. I can get into the garden with my buddy and with my little kid. It's just so much fun. Now, if you are in the comments, tell me two things that you are grateful for today. Two things that I'm grateful for today are sunshine and my plants. I'm having so much fun out there in the garden these days. It is ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. All right. I know, maybe we're having some technical difficulties. So it is. So it is. Oh, okay. It's just not. Oh, she said she requested. Go live. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. Go live with Allie Young. Here we are. Good morning.
Hi,
guys. Good morning. Good morning.
So, how are you, friend?
How
are you?
I'm good. I've just been appreciating that sunshine. I actually started to get some plants out there in the garden, which is good because I've been neglecting that. How are you this fine morning?
It is sunny. It's sunny out here. And I think that's going to be better. Yay!
Yay!
I like it when I can figure stuff out. We kind of had a bit of a birthday celebration. My daughter is 10 on Monday, so it was really nice. She had a little Stranger Things decor. We dressed up as we do, and she had a good time. Birthdays are weird, aren't they, in this time?
They are. I've had two pandemic birthdays myself, and so I find time in general has been a little bit odd during this experience because you're like, oh, I remember when, and then you try to fit the pieces together, and it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, everything is kind of before and after, right?
Yeah, before and after, and because so much has changed, and yet our day-to-day feels very, very similar. So it's kind of hard to track the time. Apparently, that's like they've done studies on this, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Of course.
So let's start off with like two things we're grateful for. What are two things you're grateful for today?
I am really grateful for my kids. Number one, I am just really grateful for them. I know that you saw, they had this little moment the other day where Jack had given Emily a birthday present, and he ran to her and he leaped on her and she hugged him. Aww. And so, of course, as parents, we were just like, quick, get documentation of that. It's happening. And you know what? I'm grateful for you, friend. I'm grateful that we get to do this. That we get to spend time doing this and talking about important things. How about you?
Me too. And let's see, what am I grateful for? You know what? I just woke up this morning in bed and was just lying down and having just cuddles with Ryan this morning, and it was just really nice. And that's one thing. You know, this pandemic, I can't go out adventuring, but just really appreciating the people that I can go bubble with is just so big. And, you know, my cup of coffee. I love a good cup of coffee in the morning. Gratitude doesn't have to be fancy or profound.
Yeah, I think mine says enjoy the little things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is a good transition because we were talking about, we were Allie and I just kind of call each other 2 days before this and be like, what's going on? What should we talk about? And you had a really good topic. Why don't you just like
Um,
jump off? Because you had some really good things to say right before we hopped on here.
so I think that like there's some things that I'm feeling like I'm changing my mindset, and it's just so amazing at how things can remain the same, and it's us who change. And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is making peace.
Mm,
And the big difference about how making peace with something does not mean that you're giving up, that you've just, like you've said, I can't do this. And really looking at those bits and pieces in my life as to what is the point in making peace? What is it?
that is the
And
best
how does
question.
that? So what is the point in making peace? What is it?
Well, in spiritual circles or in even psychological circles, it starts with a different word, acceptance. So being accepting where you are right now. Because when we have that resistance of like, and we all feel it, right? It's a human thing to do. Like something's happening and I don't like it. So we resist it. And that's part of
We
where,
fight it.
yeah, and denial. Like, oh no, I didn't gain those 20 pounds, or oh no, I didn't overspend all that money. Or, my life choices aren't actually, that's denial and justification. But when we want to start to come to peace and move forward, like really move forward, we have to accept where we are. It's like if I were to play Monopoly, I want to know I'm on Baltic Avenue and not deceive myself that I'm at Park Place so that I can have a better strategy to get to that go and collect my $200.
It's almost like removing the disillusionment, right? Is that sometimes we stack the odds against ourselves because we assume because other people have things, or other people look like this, or other people have this, that we end up comparing ourselves and where we are to what we see. And that's not always the truth. And I think you're really talking about something important here about making peace is accepting. And again, it's not giving up, but making peace is about accepting where you are right now. But it doesn't mean you can't have goals and you can't, but really, really being able to move forward with where you are. And I think in the Weight Watchers circle, which I'm in, is kind of like I'm really seeing that making peace with where you are in your journey, or that maybe the goal weight that you were aiming for is not realistic and you're okay where you are. And that making peace with those moments, right? That everything, if nothing changes, that we're still okay. We're still a whole person. We're still dynamic within ourselves. And that doesn't diminish anything from us. And making peace with something, again, is not about, well, okay, well, I might as well not do it. That's not what we're talking about.
No. And that's part of resilience, is like making peace with like, this is a hard struggle and I will stay with myself through the struggle to whatever happens on the other side. So when we're looking at like acceptance, which I think is step one to peace, if you go into the hospital with a knife wound and you're like, I don't want to have this knife wound. I don't believe in knife wounds. Knife wounds don't exist. I'm just going to think my way out of this. That's madness. It's absolute madness. If I have an anxiety disorder and I want to like toxic positivity the shit out of that thing and pretend it doesn't exist, I won't be able to go behind the reason why that's there in the first place. Why am I so anxious in the first place? We want to have that acceptance of what we're struggling with first before we can even start to make sense of it and then move forward. Oh,
Yeah.
Duran's on here. Hey.
And it's also, I mean, like I've had some personal experience with that, and I've chatted with you about sometimes we want things, and it's looking at, well, what changes if we want a title or we want something? What is it that actually changes? Is it our ego? right? And it doesn't, it's stepping back from that and really looking at what is this actually giving me, and deciding that where we are is okay. And I've had experience this week of really wanting something and then having to look at that and say, well, is it just for the name's sake? What changes? Do I get more of this, that, and the other thing? Oh, well, no, nothing actually changes except for inside my head of how I view myself, but no one else views me any different. And it was one of those moments, that light bulb moment, where it was like, oh, I'm good with where I am. I'm okay with where I am. And if something changes, I'm good too. So I think that it's just, it doesn't it give you so much more brain space? And we worry about the things that we cannot control. And I think a lot of that, finding that peace within that, is saying, I'm okay with letting this go or putting it down for now. We can revisit it at a different point.
Yeah, I think that you touched on something really profound of like, what does it serve me? So like if I have a financial goal of like, okay, well, I want to make 10 grand a month. Well, why? Because I don't feel safe. Why? And then getting to that root issue of like, what will that money give you? What will that weight give you? What will that measurement or whatever give you? What's the feeling behind it? What's the impetus behind it? Because that's the real root of it. And that way we can actually deal with, okay, so I'm actually dealing with issues of self-acceptance, or issues of feeling safe in the world, or issues of identity. And then we can address that without being like, I need you to do this in order for me to feel safe. When we identify that
Mm-hmm.
safety is our need, then and not like having that specific financial goal, which would help us feel safe. But the real root issue is feeling safe in the world in the first place. So we can address
Yeah.
that, create an environment or support systems, put them in place for us to feel safe, and then we will get that goal. It's the difference between focusing on, I don't have enough, and I am capable of earning enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's an insecurity in there, right? And
Mhm.
when we feel insecure, we fight, right? We look at other people with judgment, and we feel inadequate, and we really, we twist it into this weird reality. And it's almost like when we make peace with something, and I was mentioning this on a workshop this morning, was that when we have the ability to celebrate and be happy for other people, and that does not mean that we aren't successful. So when we look at somebody who's really successful, and I think that I struggled with this too, is there was jealousy, there was inadequacy that I felt, and their success had nothing to do with me. And it was like this moment where it's freedom, right? You set yourself free because, and if you utilize other people's success and you make peace with yourself of saying, I'm on my own journey, I'm where I am, and stop looking and comparing with other people, you are able to move forward within your own journey a lot faster and a lot better, with confidence, right? Because we're not comparing ourselves to other people, and then we can be cheerleaders for other people, and therefore bring in to our own journey the ability to be inspired by others.
Absolutely. And that's a testament to the company you keep and how you keep the company that you keep, right? When I am
Totally.
excited for other people's goals, when I see them achieve them, there's a couple things that are actually happening behind the scenes that we may not actually realize. Who you hang around with is going to affect your behavior. So if you're the one earning less income with a group of 5 good girlfriends that earn a lot of income, you know what? Those 5, you're going to pick up on how to earn more money just by hanging around them. If I hang out with my tribe of women who are like so healthy and exercising and eating and meditating, I'm more likely to do those healthy habits too. And then there's another
Yeah.
principle at play of, instead of, I'm talking about reframing jealousy because it's a universal emotion. We have actually
Yeah.
all felt jealousy. Gabby Bernstein has this one principle where she calls it driftwood. I'm not sure what the analogy is with driftwood, but she's like, when you see that somebody else has what you want, be reminded that that's possible to have.
Yeah. Totally. And I think that, the more that we're able to make peace with stuff, the more in the moment we are, don't you think? that it's really about and we throw around mindful, and mindful seems really frou-frou, and it's like, oh, we're going to be mindful. But there really is that moment where when you can come to peace with whatever that it is, you have bigger room to think about other things. Then you don't have to think about that thing that's been rattling around in your brain. There is a moment where you're able to move forward. And isn't that what we want? We why do we want to hold on to things, especially things that we can't control? Because it affects our bodies. That stress, like all up in the chest here, you can see it. You can see it. I can see it in me. Like when my shoulders are down, like I physically hold on to things. I don't know about you, AJ, but I can, like, it's just one of those things. It's inside my body. And if there's anything that I can do um, to release that, and it's not easy. Making peace with something sounds really, I can say, oh, make peace with stuff. It takes work, right? Because we keep going back to that negative narrative inside our head. It creeps back in, and we have to kind of keep pushing forward and keep whatever that you might have, a mantra that you have to remind yourself, whether it's meditation, just to take that moment to kind of snap yourself out of that negative self-talk dialogue. Because we've carried that dialogue for such a long time in our life that it's a habit, right? The neurons are really close. What we're doing is we're trying to pull those neurons as far apart as possible so that we can bring in thoughts and bring those neurons closer together. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the root cause of why we can't let go of stuff is we don't trust, believe, or are capable in that moment of trusting, believe, because it's never been shown to us that it's possible, that something good will replace it. Buster and Pook, I hope I'm saying that right, said, finding peace gives a person confidence. And yes, it's hard work. Yeah, and it takes confidence to build peace too. When we can't let go of stuff, it feels like we're hanging on to this thing, this pattern, this, I don't know, old bad relationship that sucks. It's like this life jacket, and we feel like we're in the middle of the ocean. We don't trust that there's going to be something else to come along.
Yeah, you bring up another word that's really important, is trust. And you were talking about that just a moment ago, in that we don't trust ourselves, in that we don't trust that we're capable. And this is why communities, this is why this kind of environment, these kind of boards where people can chat, is that all it takes is that leap of faith, right? That yes, I can do this, that belief. Because and I think in the acting world, it's like the fake it till you make it. You just push yourself forward and say, I'm going to keep going until the door closes, then I'm going to look for a window, because there's always a window.
Yeah, and it's when you don't feel it yet, you have to build in things into your day that are going to start to support the structure of feeling it later. It starts with a choice, and then it ends with a feeling, right? So the choice might be just filtering your feed on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your TikTok or whatever, and getting that positive reinforcement and eliminating the stuff that's going to speak to your fear, that's going to make that fear voice sound louder. So for example, on like my TikTok, I have two that they're just so simple that come up again and again. And one of them is just like one guy, every time he comes on, he's like, relax your jaw. And so that's it. So when I see, like, I'm scrolling through my feed and he's like, relax my jaw. Oh yeah, I've been holding it here.
Right.
So having that like physical reminder, and same thing with eliminating things that that kind of speak to the fear story or the past.
That don't serve you. Yeah, that don't serve you anymore. And the more, and Pat, hi Pat Novak, was talking about, finding peace gives a person confidence and trusting ourselves. And therefore we can instill that confidence and trust in others, right? And having that faith. And that part is really, really contagious. And so it's almost like when you look, you were talking about looking at different groups of people that are in your life, that you can either go one way or another. You can look at them and say, they have what I don't have. I'm inadequate. Why do they like me? I shouldn't be here. I feel like an imposter. Or you can flip to the other side and have a really curious be like, how did you get there? How did you do that? What is it? Because those people who you are associating with, they are so willing to help, and we're so afraid to ask. We're afraid to ask for that help because of our egos. And when we make peace with things and put that down and say, I'm going to be unafraid to ask. And like you were saying, is that driftwood, right? Is that, yes, you can have it. Okay. So if it's not going to magically come to you, it's not like the lottery, you're not going to just instantly be given something. So what's step number one? And isn't that a great question to ask somebody who has something that you aspire to be or aspire to have, is asking what that first step is.
And even with the lottery ticket, the first step is buying that damn lottery ticket.
Right. You're not gonna get anything if you don't put things into action. And I think that the more that you are able to make peace with things, it clears the path, right? Because those things litter your journey with things that look like roadblocks. And sometimes those roadblocks feel like a giant mountain. And it's really just about, and again, when it's in our heads. The whole, if you're looking at a scenery, the scenery doesn't change. We change how we look at it. And it's possible. I think that's the most beautiful thing about all of this, is that it is possible. We are capable of change. We are capable of learning, no matter what age, no matter where we are in our journey and in our life, that, excluding the things that are virtually impossible. I can't grow wings and fly. But I think that there's such an excitement when we are able to make peace with something and we get a clearer view of the path that we get to walk.
Yeah, absolutely. And that clearer view, like if we don't feel like we are in that place with relationships yet, like if we don't have that tribe of people to encourage us, it can start just with your own environment. Like, what do you have around you that is speaking to you in this moment? Like, for example, we get like these subtle cues from the things around our house, right? Like this coffee cup gives me a positive charge because my husband gave it to me. So my brain associates it with this positive memory. Or if I put on that shirt that is threadbare and it has like stains on it, I'm giving my brain the message of, I'm not worthy of wearing something nice, or this is going to be a shit day, or I'm just going to hide underneath my covers today. And it never became more clear to me that on my 40th birthday, I used to have this scooter that I totally loved. And the night of my 40th birthday, it was stolen out of my driveway. And I loved the scooter in that when I drove on it really fast, I loved to feel the wind in my hair. But how I acquired the scooter was from somebody that was from my father, who gave it to me because he didn't feel safe on it. And he gave it to me when I was like 6 months pregnant. I don't feel safe driving this. You drive it. So what that told me every time I walked past this scooter when I left my house was that I don't deserve to be safe. And when that scooter was stolen, it was the best gift ever, because I didn't get that subtle message every time I left my house that I don't deserve to be safe. I eliminated that from my house. I'm starting to get rid of all those stained threadbare shirts because of those subtle cues. And it starts with like controlling your own environment, controlling your like the clothes you wear, getting rid of things that you're subtly giving you the clues that you are less than, and then you take that into other relationships. But even if you don't have those friendships now, you can start controlling your environment and giving yourself these cues.
Absolutely. You bring up such a wonderful point at how, because that is right. How do I get from A to B? I'm not set up, all of this stuff, but what a beautiful step one is your environment, and looking at the things and why are we holding on to this? What is it about this? Does it serve me? And it's almost like that Marie Kondo. Does it bring me joy? Yeah. Right? And so really like that step one, because it's the law of attraction, right? is that when we set up ourselves to receive and put it out into the world, I am seeking a tribe, I am seeking a group of people who are like-minded, you are more likely to draw that into you when you set that intention. And what a better way than looking at your environment and saying, okay, what is the clutter? And then really what, talking about making peace with something is making peace with letting go. What will happen? What will change if I let go? How is this going to serve me? Is it going to declutter my house so that maybe all of the stuff made me anxious and I didn't know it? And it's when we start to clear away things, and again, I'm going to refer to that path, clearing away things so that we can see the path that we truly want. And it's just, friends out there in the Instagram universe, really start with your environment. That's something you can do today, right now. This Sunday is really just start with your environment and take a look at, is this what I want my room to look like?
Yeah, because it's a reflection of what's going on in here and in here. And that's actually one of the most simplest, most effective, cheapest ways to deal with anxiety is just to master your environment, because it's a reflection. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're having trouble getting out of bed, deal with your environment. Just start with where you are. And there's like no, like, I'm not going to say start at this corner and do that. No, you just have to start. You just have to start. And trust me, I know it can be difficult. My mom was a hoarder. And so there were times where I would go in and like have to clean up for safety reasons. And you look at this big mess. And it's the same thing with a life, right? Like if you wake up one morning, you're like, this shit's got to change. And you look at this big mess, you just have to start. There's no right way. Yeah. You just have to start.
So how do we know what we have to make peace with?
Your body. So when you're saying I hold tension in my body, or I can feel my shoulders rise up to my ears when I'm thinking about this. So your body is incapable of lying to you. It literally can't. So when you're in like meeting a friend and you're not sure if you trust them or not, check in with your body. Like, are you breathing more shallow? Are your shoulders going up to your ears? For me, it's always a dull ache in my back when I feel like I don't trust that person. But that just comes with listening in. And that's what mindfulness and awareness is. It's not anything formal. You don't need a special Swami mat. You don't need a meditation pillow. It's just like feeling safe in the moment.
Yeah. And you say, safe. It's also things that we feel afraid of, right? I think that is my indicator, is things that make me feel afraid. And in my situation, it was afraid of that I wasn't good enough as X, Y, Z, and this. It was my fear that I viewed myself less than. And when I actually stepped back and I looked at that and I said, well, am I less than? Because that makes me afraid to think, because as much as we are coaches, and as much as we bring up topics and try to talk about stuff, we are people who need that coaching too, right? And so where does my fear comes from, and what do I need to make peace with? And I had that moment where and the minute that I just said, okay, it doesn't change anything. I'm okay. And you're right. My body just went, oh, and I moved on to other things, and nothing actually changed. It was my brain. It was how I thought of myself within a situation, and how that affected me. It didn't. Nothing changed except what was inside my head.
Right. It spoke to an old fear story. It's like, remember this tune that was so popular in high school? It's the same thing. Like when a song comes on the radio that was really popular in a time of your life, what happens? You get all those fear, all that emotions, you get that sense memory, what life was like at that time. So when you get kind of triggered by, a less than story, or feel like you're being left out of something, it does the same thing. Like that old song that was so popular in high school, it triggers that flood of feelings and emotions that come back. So then we have the opportunity to be like, am I going to change the station or keep listening to this song?
Totally. And it is that, sorry, I had to change rooms. People needed to get dressed.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and it is. So that's why I wanted to talk about this this week, is because I feel like I need to get better at making peace with things, and then identifying those things so I can actually work on the things that I need to work on and not have it cloud my brain so much. Because when we have so much to think about, right, then we don't end up doing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thinking about where to start to clean up the mess, and we're just still standing in the doorway and not actually doing anything.
And how long are we standing in the doorway for?
Exactly.
And that's the thing.
And for those of you that like hop on this and hear like, oh, I'm a coach, and you saw that Allie was like, I need coaching on this too, know that that is normal, and that's actually proof of your integrity as a coach. When you go to someone else for help, that you're standing in a strong place of integrity, of being like, oh, I'm still human. I'm the mentor coach. I may be 2 steps ahead of the people that I'm coaching, but I need to know what my 2 steps ahead are. And just like, I just want to throw that out there of like, we're always on a learning journey, and that's the fun of it.
And I think that's what makes the community. So
yeah,
that's what makes us stronger, is together, is because we're all in it together.
door just opened.
We're traveling again.
Feeling bogged down keeps you in a rut. Yeah, it does. And that's when you're like, well, what is bogging you down, and what's the rut that you're in, and how did it serve you? Because often when we're in a rut, we can feel bad about being in the rut, but often the rut kind of got us out of a bad situation in the first place, right? Like all of our survival techniques, all of these bad thoughts and habits and limiting beliefs, they came on board for a purpose, because we weren't capable of no, that's not what I want to say. They were there for a reason to keep us safe in that moment. But what enabled you to thrive, like survive in one moment, will hold you back later. It's like what I learned for my white belt is not going to be enough for my yellow belt. But it earned you your white belt. So that is amazing. So don't shit on yourself that you needed that white belt to get to that yellow belt. I don't know if that was a great analogy, but there you go. Those thoughts, those patterns, they're not proof of your badness. They're proof of your ability to fight to get out of the situation that you had found yourself in, so that you can get into a new place. And if you had to be in that rut for a while to get there, then that's amazing. Now we can just try a different path to get us where we want to go.
It's like you had said on a previous Instagram live that mistakes are proof you're trying.
Yeah.
And I had a few people that reiterated that within their posts on the WW site, which was really, and it was just those are the things that resonate, right? And there was another quote that I had posted, which was, "You're not starting from scratch." And some people who feel like they've done this, they've bounced back, you're starting from experience. And so, right, when we look back and saying, oh, well, here I am again, well, we have experience rooted and based in that. And I think that is something too, is being able to make peace with the fact that we're always able to start fresh. We are always able to start again. And that's the beautiful thing about all of this, is that we can always hit refresh on today. And that's all that we need to focus on, is right now, is in that moment, that mindfulness, that mindful, be in today and look at today and make the changes that you need to make today.
I know that when you start changing, I think it's Robin Sharma that said, all change is messy in the beginning, chaotic in the middle, and beautiful in the end. So when I start,
isn't that life? Like, life is messy and chaotic. And I think that also, and also, like, being realistic about the picture that we have for ourselves, right, is be in that now. Having goals is amazing, but also um, where we are right now is that that's beautiful too, and that's okay too. Yes, yes, Pat, no matter how old you are forever learning. Isn't that a gift? Isn't that a gift that we're never too old to change and grow and learn? I find that very exciting and extremely hopeful for myself personally.
Absolutely, because I find curiosity actually gets me out of more messes than puts me in.
Right?
I think that whole expression "curiosity killed the cat" was from people trying to control the cat, but cats cannot be controlled. And apparently
Yeah.
neither can I, so here we are.
Yes, and like that being curious not only with ourselves but with other people. Again, we look at those two groups of people, right? The people that have who have bigger incomes than you, that have are further in their wellness journey than you, and that curiosity is what's going to move you forward, because otherwise we're gonna stay behind, we're gonna hide, and it gives us that ability. And I think that a lot of people feel like asking questions makes it look like they don't know what they're doing, and it's people who ask the questions who are going to move forward the most, right? Being curious and staying within that curious mindset. We think of kids, right? They're forever curious and asking inappropriate questions, and just the hilarity of all of it. And as adults, we know the difference between inappropriate questions and appropriate questions, but it's almost like we get to an age and we stop asking, we stop playing, we stop all of that stuff. And it's really interesting to me as to why. Is it fear?
Yeah,
Are
maybe.
we
I think
afraid?
anytime you approach something that you feel jealous, there's that opportunity. Like, is this going to speak to my "I am not enough" story? Or can I investigate and see what's possible? How do I get that thing? Which is exactly what you're saying. And then anytime we like just that we need to ask questions because we feel like we're expanding. Like the universe is always expanding. And when we are expanding, we are feeling like we're giving ourselves life. And when we are shrinking, we feel like we're dying a little bit. So I don't know if I think it comes down to safety also, like
Yeah.
feeling safe enough to ask the question or, yeah, I don't know.
That's easy though, feeling safe enough to ask the question. Okay, as being curious about this.
Mm.
So why do we feel unsafe asking that question? Where does that come from?
Trauma, old programming. And it
Yeah.
doesn't
And it's
necessarily
like
have to be big, dark stuff either. It could just be
yeah,
like you had the same teacher for grade 2 and 3, and they needed to control a classroom of really loud children. And so questions were not allowed. And it's kind of like we get the signal and we have the choice how to interpret the signal. For example, my hallway light, I don't always have, like, my neighbors have the light switch that controls my hallway light sometimes. So I'm not always sure what the connection is. So I'm not sure if that bulb is getting electricity if they have turned the light on or off. So there's two things to make the light bulb turn on, right? There's the electrical current, and then there's a light bulb that's able to receive. So we get an electrical current, or we get some information or input, like you are enough, you're not good enough. And then there's we have to receive it in order for that light to switch on or switch off. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, for example, if somebody, like, I think somebody told me that they thought my kid was stupid. And I was like, are you insane? Because it just fell flat. I knew with surety that she is one of the most intelligent people I've ever known. So that did not stick. But if somebody gives you an insult or a feedback of something that you fear might be true, that then you're going to
right.
accept that signal, and it's going to turn on for you, and it's going to turn on a whole bunch of behaviors and thoughts afterwards, if that makes sense.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that whole mindset of like, well, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to listen to that. I think we need to get better at that because we know our own selves better than anyone, and I think that that's really what we need to feed, right? That confidence within ourselves is when we feel unsure, when we feel scared, is that reminding ourselves that what other people say to us is less important than what we say to ourselves. and how we say that to ourselves is that we can get feedback from others, but we are the ones that know ourselves best and know where the answers, and digging those answers deep inside of ourselves. Am I able to do this? When we really think about it, yeah, I think I can. And walking up to those things and taking a look at those fears, and seeing if they're fact, and if it's something we can put down and move forward and think about something else. I want to think about other things than what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. And so to ask those questions, it's, I think that's where anxiety comes to play, why we don't ask the questions. And what anxiety does is it turns the volume up on the fear and turns the volume down on your capability. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
we have that, like, I want to ask this question of this person that has this job that I really want, and then feeling that anxiety or that fear. So then you have to like question the anxiety, almost like give it a name, like call it Susan or call it a Karen or whatever you want to call it. Like,
Yeah.
is what anxiety saying true? Yes or no? Well, am I capable of handling the situation if they respond this way? Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I like, it's also like saying, what's the worst that's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what we're afraid of, is the worst that's going to happen. And yeah, Pat, you're right. Think of life experience as growth and not a setback. What a beautiful way to make peace with that, right? Is when, and it's a flip of the brain, and it releases all of that, and it's just so amazing at how we think about ourselves and how we think about our life and our journey and who we are and how we show up in the world. It weighs us down. Or, when we're able to let that go and make peace with it, that we're so much lighter. We feel so much better. We're in a better mood. We can actually put out positivity into the world instead of being that negative bubble sucker, right? Where we're desperate for other people's positivity to fill us up. But unless we address our own positivity and what's weighing us down, no matter how much positivity you receive from someone else, it will never fill your cup. You are the one that needs to fill your cup.
Yeah. And that makes your love conditional when you're like, I require you to tell me I'm lovable. That's not self-love at all. And when we employ the curiosity and kind of remove ourselves a little bit, which is what mindfulness and meditation does. So for example, when I'm playing a video game and I don't get the blue key and my character dies, I don't say, oh shit, I'm a terrible person. No, I try again. I use my new life, my new day, and I try to find that blue key and pass the level. And I learn from the time where it didn't work. And getting that kind of little bit of removal sometimes helps us when we feel the fear or we feel the anxiety of being like, okay, this is just this level of this game. I need to acquire this blue key, whatever that is, in order to pass to the next level.
Yeah. So, friends, what is your blue key? What's your blue key? What do you feel like you need and what a beautiful way of putting it. Because we don't harp on ourselves. Well, unless you're my son and he gets super mad and throws the remote control across the room. When you don't get the blue key in the video game, right? We don't crap on ourselves and think we're terrible people because we didn't do it. You try and try and try again. And there's different ways of doing it, because you don't try the exact same way that you did before because you knew that you died. Mm-hmm. So navigating different waters and being able to, our brains hold us back or push us forward. And it's really utterly amazing. And I just had that experience where the minute that I just kind of made peace with it and went, well, it doesn't change my life if this is where I'm at, and I'll just keep doing what I was doing. And it just all of a sudden took all that pressure off, and I had a good day. And all I need to have is just one good day, because we're just in this moment, and be in this moment and have one good day. And we have the ability ourselves to do that. And that's not anyone else's responsibility. And we can take that back, even when we have those negative comments, like you were saying, being Teflon and being like, well, that's ridiculous, unless we have an inherent belief and fear that that's what it is. And that's what we need to walk up and look at and say, why am I afraid of this? What is it about this that I fear is true? Mm-hmm. And look at that and really and walk up to that, because the things that we're afraid of are so much less scary when we actually look at them than when we imagine them inside of our heads and what other people think. And, oh, I must show up like this and this and this and this. But really, when as soon as the minute that we address it and actually look at it, and you're like, oh, that wasn't really that hard. And that gives us the confidence to tackle the bigger things that are hard. And life is hard, but you can also really enjoy the hard. And we are capable of doing hard things. And that is amazing. I love it. I loved recently, I went and did the Coquitlam Crunch, and did it with my friend Jody, and we did it 2 times. And if you had ever asked me that in a row, if I could do that, and I was sweating and I couldn't talk, and like I had blue dripping down my face, and it was hard. And I felt so good that I could do what was hard. And that changed the dialogue in my head of what I'm capable of doing. And that's where we need to unlock that part and look at the word hard. Doesn't have to be a negative word. It can be, when we say the word hard, ooh, well, that's interesting. I wonder if I can do that. And it's totally in our head, is when we think of hard. And I think I always felt like I shied away from things that were hard. And now I want to look at things that are hard because it makes my brain work. It makes my body work, and that I'm capable of learning and changing.
I think this right here is living in the gray. Or as soon as I adopted the philosophy of yes and, it changed my life. Because yes, this is hard. And what else? Like, yes, this is hard and I'm capable. Yes, I'm really struggling right now, and I see the payoff of doing this. Yes, the tragedy has happened, and I have this day.
Yeah. What a beautiful philosophy. Oh, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And every Sunday at 11, sorry, on the West Coast. What are the times, AJ? The math for me.
It's 11 Pacific Standard. It's 7 p.m. UK, and I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern time. I think you're 4 hours ahead of us. I know everything. I tend to, most of my clients are on East Coast or UK, so those are, but yes, thank you.
But every week, these besties are going to talk about a different topic.
Yeah.
How it relates to us, how we are as coaches. I'm a WW Canada coach. For those of you who don't know what WW is, it's Weight Watchers, or what was Weight Watchers. And I am a coach on that platform. And I'll let AJ tell you what kind of coach she is.
I'm a trauma and anxiety spiritual life coach. I help you turn your pain into your superpower. And if you are in Weight Watchers, you can check out Allie's coaching. She coaches, she does group coaching on the regular, and I do one-on-one coaching. So feel free to reach out to either of us, and we would love to support you. And we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.